Today, a stranger comes to call on Charlie Sullivan, soon to be the most successful store owner in Cork, Ireland, as we take on the genre of flash fiction. Hello, welcome to Tales Under the Cat Tree. I'm your host, Dupes. Each week, I pair a compelling piece of fiction or autobiography with bigger topics. Stories provide a lens into capturing and understanding history, technology, or business by connecting personal narratives to the wider picture. Please do take the time to subscribe here or on my Substack at tales.dupes.ca for more original writing and engaging interviews. Sullivan's Choice by Dileepa Wijewardena. He knocked on the open door on a crisp, clear midnight and peeked in. Charlie Sullivan looked up from behind the number-filled papers neatly piled on the desk next to the store counter. "Yes, 'tis a bit late to be knocking." The dark stranger tipped his top hat in apology. "A light was on so late and I was curious for a cup of tea, if you can spare one." "Late it is, but yes, come in. 'Tis a freakishly cold evening. I'm just setting the final ledger straight before going home. Come, sit by the counter," Sullivan said as he waved the man over. "A kindness, sir, never to be forgotten in these lands." The stranger smiled, white teeth gleaming under the store lamp's weak orange glow. Sullivan ran his hands through wavy locks while pouring 2 steaming cups from a thermos. "Mind you, I should be home to wife and the young one soon," Sullivan sighed. "Just a cup and I'll be on my way. Many children?" 3 young sons. Not one a teen yet, but strapping young lads. My Janie's done well. Some day, those boys'll take this shop and everything I've been building." Sullivan beamed at the thought. "You seem to be doing well." The stranger lifted his cup to glistening teeth, his eyes taking in the goods falling over themselves on the shelves, boxes begging to be carried off by customers. "I do all right. Charlie Sullivan's the best place in Cork for anything and everything. There's always more to be done, though, in building a business. It's a challenge and a half, I tell you. One day, this will be C. Sullivan and Sons and a shop in every town in Ireland." The stranger was reading the spent tea leaves at the bottom of the cup. "Well, a kindness paid is a kindness rewarded. I wish you and your family wealth in all that you choose." The stranger's chair scraping signaled an end to the meeting. Sullivan glanced at the ledgers and frowned his way back to fixing numbers. Charlie Sullivan's storefront grew by leaps and bounds. Each year brought in more customers under whose hands an ever-increasing amount of goods flowed out. Each of Sullivan's children sprouted long legs, full heads of hair, and Janie loved all 3. Sullivan planned for his shop network and saved a bundle of money within the cramped ledgers every midnight session in each of the years the children grew. When his first son reached that blissful age where trust could be easily ascribed, Sullivan had him join his late-night sessions. The son learned from the father, but surely as the nights went long, the son's eyes longed for the embrace of mother and bed. Some years later, the eldest son left for the bright lights of Dublin. Janie cried deep and long, and Sullivan cured his sadness with the second son. Sullivan went through ledger by ledger, taking the son through the cramped columns and regaling him on how the numbers would move from shop to shop and foam with wealth for all. The second son departed on a boat bound for Australia. Janie soaked enough sheets with her tears and held her youngest close. Sullivan brought the ledgers home and put the youngest through the pages, with Janie sniffling through knitting while staring at the deepening circles around the boy's eyes as Sullivan's stuttering pen passed from row to row. The youngest boarded a flight to New York. Many years later, when a letter arrived from the eldest heralding a birth, Janie left for Dublin. Sullivan had ledgers and duties to take care. He knocked on the door on a wet, cloudy midnight. Sullivan moved aside the ledgers with a trembling, wrinkled hand and answered the door with some trepidation. His top hat in hand, the stranger's smile beamed down. Not a day had gone by to this visage. "Oh, it's you again. I've been expecting you," Sullivan grumbled. "Ah, it is a kindness you do to invite an old soul for another cup of tea on such a damp night." "Aye, well, come in. I'll get the kettle on." Sullivan slouched into his bony shoulders and shuffled to the kettle. "I see you've done well, but I was expecting the name to have changed to C. Sullivan and Sons, and to meet your sons tonight," the stranger asked with his eyes darting here and there. "Stuff it, you old devil. You screwed me up completely. I gave you a cup of tea that night. I did you a kindness, and look at me now. Alone, no wife, no sons to speak of. No, I've been expecting you all right. Not to thank you, but to spit in your face and curse you." Sullivan spat on the ground between them, even as he hoisted a cup. The stranger sighed, took the offered cup in both hands, and looked at Sullivan with a single tear in his eyes. He took in the humped, balding old man, disappearing into the ledgers, the wealthiest merchant in all of Cork, gasping for breath in his condemnations. "What choices of yours are my burden to carry?" Let me start with another really, really short story. My name is not Dave. Dave was born bawling. He didn't really like what he saw when he popped out into the light. "Rather depressing," he drawled. But there was nothing to do about it. So he sighed, shut up, and set up shop in my head. To date, that is the shortest flash fiction story I've ever written, at exactly 42 words, not including the title. Flash fiction is a subgenre of the short story that can range from a few hundred or fewer words to maybe 1,000 words. In other words, a really short story. But as with any story, it needs to have a progression, a beginning, a middle, and an end. Flash is a genre I knew nothing about until early 2024, when I randomly decided to get back into writing fiction. Since I needed something to force me forward, I found an online course at Oxford University entitled Flash Fiction Workshop with writer and teacher Gail Anderson. On a whim, I enrolled. Over a 12-week period, this group of students was courageous enough to present their creations to each other and receive live feedback. I won't lie. The first time my story was discussed, I was terrified. I can write until the cows jump over the moon for the World Wide Web, but here were real live people dissecting my work in front of me while I was muted. I suppose years of code reviews by my peers have helped, but this was on another level. Writing flash stories is an art. If I had been asked how difficult it would be to write a piece of fictional literature under 1,000 words, I might have said, it can't be that bad. In reality, with less space to get your ideas across, each word becomes a ponderous weight on your lips. In such a situation, your mind can lazily wander into telling mode, where the reader is left unsatisfied and unchallenged. With 1,000 words or less, can you craft a story with any wonder at the end? Does the story leap from the page into your subconscious long after you have read it because it made you think? Can you even get a reader to see the same things you do and get to the same conclusion? The first story I wrote for the class was called In the Looking Glass. It centered on the perspective as seen from within a mirror stationed in the hallway at the entrance of an apartment, something I had thought was obvious, but it wasn't. It was only obvious to me because I had imagined my current apartment, which is a mirrored closet at the end of the entrance hallway. Seeing my short story through other people's eyes was enlightening. One person even thought there was a video camera behind the glass. Another could not understand why the person was putting on shoes in their bedroom. After all, that's where they had their mirrors. Every week, we were given prompts and a specific word count with which we played for the following week. The prompts could be photos, audio clips, or random words, to name a few. For me, a haunting melody turned into a tragedy for twins. A prompt about a city turned into a story about a parrot. And a photo of an old storefront bearing the name C. Sullivan turned into a version of the devil come to visit called Sullivan's Choice. If you are interested in starting up writing again or for the first time, Gail's course is one of the best I can recommend. I had forgotten the joy of putting pen to literal paper. I had forgotten the cathartic release of working through reality by writing fiction. A few of us loved the course so much that we have continued to meet almost monthly since the course ended. The quote-unquote Chapter Chasers writing group celebrated its first anniversary this past month. Through this year of telling stories to each other, the members have changed jobs, survived health scares, moved cities, and found refuge in our imaginations. We have yet to meet in person. Because of Gail, her course, and my writing group, I do believe my writing has improved. I am now on the lookout for adverbs that don't really advance the narrative in someone's head, where the writing becomes lazy, making for a less engaging experience for the reader. I think with care about each word and sentence, making sure they work to drive home the story. I did take a longer advanced writing course after the flash fiction workshop. The advanced writing course gave me more tools to explore character, plot creation, and more. However, for me, receiving live feedback from my peers was the most fun. Storytelling is unique to each individual, their style, their experiences, and their beliefs. Courses won't teach you how to write, but give you tools with which you can get your story into the mind of another effectively. As with any skill, the only way to improve is to practice every day and every week. Every day, I walk through a myriad of stories. The veins on a leaf are a map to an ancient city, a shuffling man hunched over on the sidewalk, a tale of joy or sorrow untold. A melody unlocks the pain to someone's heart. Every day, I am bursting to tell you a story. I do not know how you will understand it. I do not know if you will enjoy it. But I do know that I must try. Sometimes the stories are long, but oftentimes you can accomplish in a few words what takes a novel. And that is the beauty of flash fiction. Thank you for listening to another episode of Tales Under the Cat Tree. If you want more original stories and interviews, check out the archives wherever you listen to this podcast. We've covered topics and stories about immigration, artificial intelligence, Stalinist Russia, and otherization, to name but a few. If you have fiction writing you want to feature, or have an interesting story to tell, or know someone who does, please do get in touch with me. This podcast will always be free. Support our work by subscribing and sharing with those who might care. You can reach me through email, contact@dups.ca, bluesky@dups.ca, or on my Substack at tales.dupes.ca. The intro music is composed by me. Give your pet a cuddle and your loved ones a hug till we meet again for some tales under the cat tree.